You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, here in Atlanta, we're broadcasting, of course, still covering the Georgia runoff here in Atlanta. We've been all over the state, and the folks, Black Voters Matter, they've also been all around this state as well. And what they have been doing is battling not just to get black folks registered to get them to vote, but also how Republicans are trying to stymie black folks from voting. They were in Brunswick, Georgia today in an emergency hearing. Joining us right now is Cliff Albright, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Cliff, always glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Always glad to be here, Roland. Thanks.
All right, Cliff, so tell our folks exactly what happened today in Brunswick, Georgia.
Yeah, so we were in Brunswick, Georgia on actually a pre-scheduled stop to do one of our regular events of doing a food and toy donation when we found out last night that there was going to be an emergency hearing called because of these complaints that have been filed by this group called True the Vote, which is definitely a misnomer. This is a group, conservative and in many ways just outright racist group that has gone around even in previous election cycles trying to get voters purged from lists. What they're doing right now in Georgia is that they're saying they're going to file complaints in all 159 counties. But today in Glenn County, what was called was an emergency hearing because of what they had filed in Glenn County. For those who don't know, Glenn County is where Brunswick is, which is where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered and where the DA that tried to bury the case at first was recently voted out. And so that's why this county, like many others, is being targeted for this type of voter purge. So there was a court hearing today, which we attended. It was a 3-person, it's really a 5-person board of elections, but only 3 members were present. And the person from this organization, actually, it was a local representative, a former state representative who represents that area, was the person that was actually presenting the complaint in court. Then they allowed for some public comments. I spoke on behalf of not only Black Voters Matter, but also a coalition of organizations that had sent a letter from the Legal Defense Fund, as well as other organizational partners that we have from across the state. We sent a letter, and so I referenced the information in that letter, and I explained to them why it would be a violation of not just federal law, but state law for them to move forward and to consider this complaint. You're not allowed to have any kind of purging or cleansing of voter lists within 90 days of an election, let alone within 2 weeks of a federal election. So that on the face of it made it an irrelevant and frivolous claim. And so I let them know that, as well as some other issues. Some other local folks gave their public comments as well. And after very brief deliberations, the board decided to not find probable cause, which essentially meant that they would not be moving forward with this complaint from this group.
Now, what folks also need to understand is that the judge also ruled that the Secretary of State should sit down with various civil rights groups, including Black Voter Matters, over the purging of folks from the voting rolls. We, of course, the Latasha Brown, and when we were, of course, in Savannah on Friday, she was at the state capitol. She posted some photos of that on her social media page. I'm going to show that in a moment. But, Cliff, what is the status of that?
Yeah, we still haven't heard back from the state on that. And so, what we're hoping is that the court will find that they're just in contempt of court. The court gave an order which basically said to work this out. We've done our due diligence trying to get them to respond by phone, by email, and as you referenced, even going down to the Capitol building to meet with the Secretary of State. They continue to fail to respond. And so what we're hoping is that the court will ultimately just find them in contempt and decide to rule in our favor. And with the remedy that we're seeking is that those voters, and again, this is a purge that goes back to 2019. This isn't a purge from this year, but the implications, the consequences of that purge are still being felt today, because we don't know how many of those 200,000 that were legally purged have not yet been re-registered. So the remedy we're seeking is that they automatically get re-registered. We don't want them to have to file anything, to call anybody, to jump through any hoops. They were purged illegally, and so we want them to automatically be put back on the rolls. They know who they purged. They know who they need put back on, and that's what we're demanding. If the Secretary of State continues to hide and duck and dodge and try to avoid us, then we expect for the court to find them in contempt.
And again, let me be real clear here. The courts ruled for y'all to sit down, and the Secretary of State has not even responded?
He's ducking and dodging, Roland. They have not responded to repeated attempts to work this out as ordered by the court. There's really nothing else to be done. We can't do anything more. We essentially almost had to sneak into the Capitol building just to serve them with the papers, to serve them with the notice that we were trying to work this out and to have a discussion around it. And so there's really nothing else that we can do other than to wait for the court to decide that the Secretary of State is being non-responsive and that they just need to rule in our favor. I mean, if one side is not going to present their information, is not going to follow the court order, we don't need to be dragging this out. And we're really concerned that that's what's going on here, that the Secretary of State feels that they could just drag this out, that at some point the courts will just have to decide, well, look, it's only 2 weeks left. There's nothing we can do. And so we know that that's the strategy. That's why we were aggressive in trying to meet with them. They're failing to respond. We think that the court needs to act now.
In fact, Cliff, I'm showing these are the photos that Latasha posted from 3 days ago, where, to your point about sneaking in, they were avoiding y'all, and y'all had to track them down to serve them with these papers. They did not actually want to meet with Black Voters Matter.
No. When they found that we were in there and had the papers to give them, it was like catching somebody with their hands in a cookie jar. They were pretty much like, oh, how you get in here? Well, that's what we do. We find a way. Whatever it is that we have to do to protect our folks' right to vote, we're going to make that happen. And whether that's going to the Capitol to serve them with papers, or whether that's showing up today in Glenn County to demand that these voters not be purged, and that they follow the law, that you can't do this kind of list maintenance within 90 days. We're going to do whatever it takes to let them know that we're not standing by it. And what's important is that, especially in these rural counties, because the same thing they're trying to do in Glenn County, they're trying to do in counties all over the state. They're trying to do it. They already tried it in Cobb and it was shot down. They tried it in Muskogee, and that Board of Elections actually found that there was some probable cause to at least look into it. Doesn't mean that they're purging folks, but still, even looking into it has a chilling effect, right? It has the effect of intimidating voters with the thought that they might be asked, why did you change your address? Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you voting for, right? And so they try to do these things in these rural counties. And part of why we do what we do, why we roll through in these communities with the Blackest Bus in America, is because we want our folks to know that they are not alone. And there are several people from Brunswick in that courthouse today who said, you know what, I thought I was going to be here by myself. I was so glad to see y'all. That's the kind of impact that we want to have in communities. We don't want anybody in our communities who's trying to fight for truth. We who believe in freedom shall not rest. We don't want folks to feel like that they're alone in these battles. So it was really important to us that we were there today, that we were in the Capitol the other day serving those papers, and we will continue to be in every county, wherever there are Black voters facing these issues. That's where we're going to show up, along with some incredible state partners. Big thanks to LDF for drafting the letter that was sent to the Glenn County Board of Elections today.
And again, Cliff, that is the thing that means. So here we are in the middle of an election. We're sitting here trying to get folks out, and y'all are on the front lines just to make sure that Republicans in this state are not trying to intimidate Black voters, trying to suppress Black voters, because they clearly understand the power of the Black vote, and this is how they want to win. They do not want to win on the issues. They frankly want to win by cheating.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious
I said that to them.
They keep yelling, stop the steal. They keep yelling, stop the steal, but that's what they're trying to do.
Right. The levels of hypocrisy are mind-blowing, right? And I mentioned that to them in my public comments to the Board of Elections today, because what they were trying to argue is that they don't know who these voters are, right? They're just doing this. They're just trying to clean the rolls. We don't know who's going to be impacted. We don't know what the race of the voters are. And what I told the Board of Elections is, look, we got to be honest here, right? We just got to deal with the reality. We know why they're doing this. They know who it is that would be purged by this. In the same breath that they were arguing that they know that these weren't military people because they didn't want to act like they were trying to purge military. So they said, no, we researched it and these aren't military. And we researched it and these aren't students. So like I said to the Board of Elections, I said, you know what? They're telling us they know everything there is to know about these voters. They know whether they're military, whether they're students, they know their shoe size, they know what their favorite food is to eat, but somehow they want us to believe that they don't know their race. That doesn't make sense, right? That just flies in the face of everything that we know. We know why it is that they're doing this. We know that they're mad because Georgia flipped in November. We know that they're scared, as you said, that they're running scared because of the historic voter turnout that we've seen in the first week of early voting, plus the vote by mail. We know that they're scared because of the momentum. We know that they're mad because of what happened in Brunswick and Glenn County where they got rid of the DA. This is why they're using these tactics, and especially in a place like Brunswick and Glenn County, we need not be naive about what's going on. In fact, one of the acts that I cited and that the LDF cited in the letter, this isn't just a violation of the Voting Rights Act or the Help America Vote Act. The intimidation that this represents goes to the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act. And so I mentioned that in court in the hearing today, and I looked dead at the representative who was bringing this hearing when I referenced the KKK Act, because that's all that's going on. It is the same kind of intimidation. They want our voters to have to answer questions about why they're voting a certain way or where they lived or where they moved to and all this stuff. That's intimidation, and we're not having it. That's what we're trying to do today. That's what we're trying to do with the lawsuit that we have against the Secretary of State.
All right, then. Cliff Albright, we certainly appreciate it. Look, keep us abreast. Whatever happens, y'all know y'all can come on here at any time to break this thing down, and we're going to keep, pressing and making it perfectly clear that we are watching and paying attention.
Thank you so much, Roland. Be on the lookout. Valdosta is next up. We're fighting for that as well, too. And that's, in this case, thousands of voters that they're potentially trying to purge in Valdosta, Georgia.
All right, then. All right, Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.